Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to Grasp the Cloud. I'm Matt Hester, aka Mongo, and I'm with.
Sarah Kong, aka Konger,
Mongo and Konger. You put it together, it almost rhymes, right, Sarah?
Mongo Konger.
Mongo
Sure.
Konger or Congo
Mongo.
Monger. Sounds like we're trying to invent a new dance like Zumba.
No dancing, please.
Anyways, well, welcome back, everybody. As we you probably know, we've been on a bit of a break. We've just been really busy with a lot of exciting projects. Some we can tell you about, some we cannot, but we will tell you about them. We promise when we have, especially when it comes to learning. We focus a lot of our podcast on the different aspects of adult learning and the training that Sarah and I do for Microsoft. So, Sarah, what you been up to?
Well, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to tell you. First of all, I just passed two exams, which we'll get to shortly here. And then prior to that, or while I'm doing that, I'm actually on a project for a new modality that Microsoft is currently in pilot phase. And it's called blended learning. And we've taken the AZ 104 course, taken it from 4 days and stretched it out to 4 weeks. So expect to hear more about it. Right now, we're working just with our partners right now, but we will be doing open enrollments eventually so that anybody can join. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I know. I've been waiting for to talk to our listeners more about that kind of stuff that we're doing from innovation. So it's a really exciting project. It's going to be good for us trainers. I think it's going to be very good for learners who don't always have a schedule where they can carve out 3 or 4 straight days. We're still going to offer those. We're going to offer just different modalities to once again help do all that. And we talk about the exams. And Sarah, which exams did you just pass?
So the one that I did, which was kind of like up my alley, was the AZ 305. So that was originally the 303 and 304, which is the Azure Architect exams. If you're not familiar with that, so the 303 used to be the Azure Architect,
Yep.
and then the 304 was the design. And then when you take both of those, that gives you your expert architect designation. And so now they've gotten rid of the 303 and 304 and made it just 305. But with the 305 and the 104, which is your Azure Administrator, then you get that Azure Architect Expert designation. So yeah, I did that one, I'm not going to tell you my mark because it doesn't matter. A
It
pass
doesn't
is a
matter. As
pass.
long as it's 700 or greater. And all we know is you got a 700 plus. That's what we say, 700 plus.
Okay, so the next one I'll tell you my mark
Oh,
though.
see, now I know this one because you outdid me on this one. That's why you want to say it. I see how you are, Sarah.
So this one was the SC 300, which is the security one. It's our new. If you remember, if any of you listened to our podcast with Brandon Neeb, he went through and talked about the new SC exams. There's like four. So I did the SC 900, which is the fundamentals. Which if you've got any understanding of security, you probably can pass it right away. And then I did the 300. I'll admit though, I failed the first time out because I didn't study, right? So I failed it, or didn't do any of the labs really, and I didn't do the hands-on studying portion. And then when I took the SC 300, what was it? Yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday I took it. I actually did a lot of hands-on studying, and that helped me pass it with an 874. It's one of my higher marks, so I can brag. People are probably
Yeah.
sitting there going, Sarah, that's only at 800. I get 900. Yeah, whatever. I
Yeah.
can never do good in exams. So 874 is like, and I remember when I saw it say congratulations with my mark, I was like, yes, what? 874? So yeah,
Well,
I was
and
very
this is a fun
excited.
thing because Sarah and I were talking because I had just passed SC 300 the week prior to that, and yes, she did pick on me about having a higher score, and I basically look at Sarah and said, "I'm glad you had the easy exam because I had the hard exam." And
Oh,
hey, 700, 700. Now if any of you have 1,000, throw a comment in the chat channel. We'd love to know what if you've got a perfect score because 1,000 has a virtual high five every day of the week that's there.
yeah,
But I think Sarah brought up a good point is that studying one is important. And I didn't pass SC 300 the first time either, but also preparing hands on labs. I think one of the important things that we focus on our learning, and part of the reason why we're doing blended learning is that people have they used to call them learning styles, but that's really not applicable anymore. It's learning preferences. Some of you like to learn by listening, some of you like to learn by reading, some of you like to learn by doing. Our exams actually test you on all three of those planes. You're going to have to
right.
do some uh, basic listening, like listening to some of John Savile, who we had a guest. Some of his videos are amazing. But you're also going to have to do things. If you haven't been in the Azure portal, passing our exams is going to become extremely difficult out there as well. And then there's just some straight reading and memorization, knowing the differences of the different licensing levels and some of the stuff, especially with like Azure AD as an example, knowing the difference between Premium 1 and Premium 2. You're going to have some of that basic memorization for the exams. But a lot of our exams, as Liberty talked about, are the process of being a security administrator or a security consultant or a designer. It's not about just memorizing those big long tables, but there's a component. So blended
Yeah,
through all,
it's
right?
you remember the back in the days, like I remember back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we were known as paper MCSEs or paper certification. Because literally, you don't even need to go into, like when I passed the Windows Server NT4 exams, I had barely touched the actual product. I just opened up a book, stuck my nose in a book, studied it, memorized it, and passed the exams. But when I was taking the SC300 yesterday morning, you get screenshots, right? You get screenshots of PIM or conditional access, and you need to know what to click and everything. So yeah, there's different, going to what you said, Matt. It's for sure. It's not just studying one method, right? And I
Yeah.
did use John Savile's. Which one was it? The not the PIM one.
The access review, I think, is the one you
That's
told me you
it.
were working with. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You told me to look at that one, and I did. I reviewed that access review and watched his video, and I love what too when you watch those videos. What really helps me when studying is to actually open up a portal and do it along with the person. So when John went in and he was clicking on things, I did it as well because it's all about seeing, hearing, and doing. Right, those three times, doing it three times, three methods you're gonna bet it helps sink it in a lot better.
Yeah. You can say that again. You can say that again. You can say that again. Oh, come on. That
That,
was an easy one to throw
no,
into
no,
there.
no, 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 that was not funny. Not funny.
Well,
Not funny.
I in another
Not
video, we're
funny.
going to talk about study tips, but I wanted to focus on something you said you did because I think you're braver than I am, or just you're a glutton for punishment. You took 305, but you didn't need it. And so, to be very clear, and
No.
we'll put a link to the article. If you already have your Azure Architect, if you pass 303 and 304, you're good. You don't ever have to take the exam again. And I'll probably take it just to understand what the exam is because it's a course I do teach. But if you're looking for a new certification and looking for the new, yeah, you have to pass AZ 104 and AZ 305 to get that accreditation. But if you have it, um, today, you don't have to worry about that. We still have our exam renewal procedure, which doesn't cost you anything but about an hour of your time to go through all that. So, what'd you think of 305 overall? Because I will tell you, 303 was the hardest exam I've taken in my career
Right?
by far. Where was
Oh,
305? Does it kind of fall between 303 and 304
I
as a difficulty
agree.
level?
Yeah, 303 was a doozy, man. I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. I almost ran out of time. And I even had labs, like labs where I had to go in and click things. I was like, what the heck is this exam? That one and 500 were the two hardest, but the 305 was very much like 304. So if you took the design exam, I found the design exam, I got it done in under an hour. I'm not saying it was that easy. It's not as easy the 304, but to me it wasn't as difficult as the 303. So it's in the middle.
Okay.
And the reason why I took the 305 is because I'm an MCT, Matt, and as an MCT, you should always take the exam so that when students know they know what to ask, right? Or when they say, "So how was the exam?" You're gonna sit there and go, "Well, I never took it." Well, why am I learning from you?
Because I will help you pass the exam. I know where all the resources are. But that's something that's really interesting because Sarah and we joke about this. I think Sarah and I share one thing. I hate taking exams,
Ugh,
and I don't,
ugh.
it just I'll say it right now. Our exams are tough, and a lot of it is just our schedule to study because I have some other goals first. And since I already have the accreditation, which as an MCT I'm allowed to teach 305, I'm not violating any rules. I think it's important, and I will take it eventually just for my own
Yeah.
education. But Sarah pulled probably the number one tip that we can give you all. So Sarah was pinging me, hey, I'm studying for 300. I'm like, good luck. When are you going to take the exam? She's like, I'm not going to tell you. Tip number one, whenever
Never
you're getting ready
tell.
to take an exam, don't tell anybody. Only tell them when you pass the exam. Like I didn't know Sarah was not successful the first time. And by the way, you either pass the exam or you learn. There is no failure.
Yeah.
Our exams are tough. They're tough for a reason. But that's the number one rule. Never tell. My boss, Mark, thinks I'm a genius, that I pass all my exams first time out of the gate. And that's so not true.
No, and it's funny. I told my boss, I'm like, hey, I passed SC 300. He's like, congratulations. What's next? Dude, let me breathe first. But that's, he's like that. He's just joking. But no, it's seriously like, so for me, just to kind of wrap this up, is when I'm studying for an exam, what I find really helps is go through the learn modules. So any of the materials online,
Mhm.
don't read one article about one service, read different articles about the same service. Because when you read things over and over again, it sinks in, and especially if it's different wording. Secondly, I highly recommend to do the labs. That's why I failed SC 300 the first time. I never touched the labs. Once I did the labs this time round, it literally, I felt the light bulb kept going on, ding, ding, ding. And then finally, the last thing, which I didn't do much for the SC 300, and I was surprised I passed such a high mark, was the measure up. So
Yep.
do the practice tests. Be careful with what practice tests you select out there. There's some out there that will give you false answers.
Yeah.
Always research the answer, even if you think, even if they say that's it, don't take that for, some of these measure up tests are even wrong as well.
Yeah,
So
and in our next podcast, we're going to talk into getting some more details about how Sarah and I prep for exams, because we prep differently. We use some of the same tools. I
yeah,
think probably some the same ways, some different ways. But we're going to take you through some of those ideas for yourself. You have to find what fits you. So we'll talk about that in our next podcast. So with that, on behalf of Sarah and myself, aka Mongo Konger, Congo Monger, as I'm going to get it right one of these days. We
manga
wish you
conga,
just say it fast like Toy Boat. We wish you the most success on the exams and just blessings all around. So with that, thank you for listening.
Thanks everybody. Good luck.